because this is the one thing that you can do in your business that is going to move the needle in all the other things. So knowing your ideal client person and profile informs everything else within your marketing. So it is truly the backbone of every element of your marketing. He wasn't sure who his ideal client was. He's kind of discovering that. He's new to business, and he shared with me the last 3 clients that he brought in to his business to serve. And there was a range of different needs that each of those clients had that brought them to him for his services. He is in the health and wellness arena in his industry. So once he shared those recent 3 customers, which are part of his best fit customers and clients, we were able to kind of walk through what they looked like, why they needed him, how they found him, whether it was word of mouth, referral, Google. In fact, one was a brick and mortar. So they drove by and they happened to have an experience that precipitated the need to see him. And from that point, we were able to really dive in, and I was able to ask the questions, which I will prompt you to do in the upcoming workshop, so that he could get a clearer view and understanding, like on paper, of exactly the type of person that would come to him when they needed his services. Once we determined what those 3 people looked like, we realized underneath his ideal client profile, there are actually 3 different buckets, or what we also call segment in the marketing world. I feel like bucket is an easier way for the layperson outside of the marketing realm to understand that they have different groups of people who would readily want to have their services or be interested in their services. So those 3 individual buckets will need a specific message. And then I asked him, are you running your marketing messaging to just prospects or prospects and clients? And he said both. And then I said, are you running an email marketing campaign at any time? And he said, yes. And I said, well, who gets what email? And he said, they all get the same email. So this is the first branch that I want to address when you're talking with your clients and your prospects, and knowing, 1, who your ideal client is, 2, if they fit into any different types of buckets, and 3, they need different messaging. Clients and prospects need different messaging. So as I was walking this gentleman through how to make it scalable and meaningful to the recipients, is when you're talking with a prospect, it's a different message. You're asking them to do something to engage with you for the first time, whether it's a free consultation, get a free quote, get on a discovery call, to start the process of learning more about how they're going to work with you or not work with you. For existing clients, that message is not the same. So you're asking them typically to refer business to you, put a Google review up, upsell them to another offer that you have once they're clients, or upgrade them to an additional service. Whatever that may be, it is a very different ask for your clients. So again, part of knowing your ideal client profile is understanding who they are and how to speak with them, not at them, through different channels. So what we learned with this gentleman was he had clients and prospects that he was sending email campaigns to. And with each of those channels or those segments, there were buckets. There were buckets of people who were getting services for injury rehabilitation. There were people who were getting treatments for like chronic issues, health matters. And then there were people who were just being preventative and trying to avoid certain things like actual physical pain. So within his prospect channel or an email, there were actually 3 different groups of people he was trying to do, which means 3 different types of email campaigns. And this can feel really overwhelming, and I don't want you to worry about that. There's technology like ChatGPT that can help us streamline the messaging that we're sending to those people, also automating the email systems. So then on the client side, we looked at, does he have buckets on the client side? And in fact, he did. So we said, you're going to take your ideal client profile for your existing clients and send them specific messaging to whatever buckets they're in. So at the end of the day, he has basically 6 email campaigns running within those 2, what I would say segments are. And that's on the email channel. Now, once you know that as part of your ideal client, you can also extract that and run these messages to those specific segments or buckets on your social channels. So whether you're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, those will be relevant messages that you're sharing out into those segments and those buckets in a way that's speaking with them and not at them. For example, one of the additional channels that we're focusing on for this gentleman was the fact that he has a great opportunity on LinkedIn as a subject matter expert in his wellness arena, because there's not a lot of people showing up there to speak about that in his lane, if you would, in his arena. But his ideal client is actually on LinkedIn, doing the work, showing up, being present and focused and mindful when they're on that channel. They're actively looking for information versus Facebook and Instagram, where they're passively probably looking for information, because most people show up to those other social channels to just scroll and consume information about what their family and friends are doing, not to identify a subject matter expert in the arena of wellness and health for executives or people who are in their 40s to 60s, who are professionals, they make six figures. We were able to deduce all that in crafting his ideal client profile to know where to meet people where they're at. So the other thing too that I like to share with people when they're identifying the right social channel for their ideal client profile and where to meet them is, how do you want that person showing up? So one of the things I often share with a prospect or a business peer is, think about where your person is at when they're consuming their content on LinkedIn. They're probably at their desk. They are not in the bathroom. You are not in the bedroom with them. They are literally focused and intentional about being on LinkedIn to gather insights and information on their career, on hiring their people. And when you can show up there as a subject matter expert, yes, even in the health and wellness industry, you're more visible because there's a wide open space there. Think of it as you come across an open field and there's not a lot of people out. Like, you're more visible. Whatever you're doing there is more visible. So this is the same kind of concept that we have on LinkedIn. So don't undersell and underestimate LinkedIn. If you can identify your ideal client is probably there participating in the conversation. Meet people where they're at. And then the last thing this gentleman was looking to do is update his website, where your ideal client is probably going to be showing up to gather information in the decision-making process. So you want to make sure you're translating all of that great messaging specifically for that person, meeting them again where they're at. They're going to go to your website most likely, and putting your content there that's relevant to them, answering questions that they're curious about. So for this person in the health and wellness industry, say they did a Google search and they're looking for chronic pain relief, and this person has properly placed the right keywords within their website, which is the messaging and the copy on their website page, to help that person get the Google result that show this gentleman's business within our geographic area. So those are the three ways that I can share with you today how powerful it is to have your ideal client profile dialed in and very specific. The results of the workshop that I'm hosting both in July and August in person, and it's limited only to 15 people, is we will craft your ideal client profile in some of those buckets and segments for you to go out to right after that. Like, this gentleman was easily able to deploy 1/3, if not 2/3 of the things we discussed in that 1-hour meeting the other day right away. By the next day, he was able to integrate and implement this messaging straight away into his channel. So you'll leave with that, and I will be available after the workshop to help guide you should you choose. So if you're a small business owner and you don't feel confident that you've clearly identified your client that you're targeting to best serve with your business and services and products, please sign up for the Ideal Client Workshop. I've pinned the link here in the comments. The space we'll be hosting the workshop is beautiful. I hope this was helpful for you today. Again, I'm Dawn Gagey with Tracer Strategic Marketing, and I'm hosting the Ideal Client Workshop in person in Vestady Hills at the Dean during the month of July. in the month of August on those specific dates. So go ahead, click on that link, sign up today, and I'll see you there. Have a great rest of your day.